everyone, and welcome back to the current episode of Sippin with Stephen. These two gentlemen to my right, this is Grant Williams, who is the state ambassador for Heaven's Door, and the man to my immediate right is Adam Edwards, who's the national brand ambassador for Heaven's Door. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you very much.
I cannot tell you how much I've looked forward to having you all on the show. Fantastic new expression. Looking forward for you all to educating the Sippin with Stephen viewers about all the exciting things that are going on with Heaven's Door, both from a product standpoint and an experience standpoint, because you all are the newest members of the downtown bourbon experience, with what you're going to have opening up here in the near future, and also with the new distillery out in Henry County. So, Adam, if you would please kind of introduce folks to the brand and to the experience.
Absolutely. Well, yeah, thanks so much for having us on today. It's been a very exciting year, to say the least, with Heaven's Door. We've very, very close to having the distillery open down in Pleasureville. Very close to having our brand experience open in Nulu. Right now it's just open as a nice bar and restaurant with an amazing bourbon collection.
Heard fantastic things about
really great space. It's an old church, was built in 1860. It's absolutely beautiful. But the brand itself, we've been around for a number of years now. I think we're entering our 7th year. Everything leads back to the man himself, Bob Dylan. Everything we do leads back to what we call that restless spirit or the passion of Bob Dylan. Bob is like 82 years old now, still performs 100 dates a year on his tour. He's an amazing author. Is also, I love this thing about Bob, he makes these huge black iron gates. It's called Black Buffalo Ironworks. And that's where we've taken the inspiration for our labels of Heaven's Door.
Well, terrific, because looking right out here in front, there are 3 fantastic bottles. And I know here at the Fraser, we have a bottle of your Ascension and some of the bootleg bottles, but the regular product, the Ascension bottle, is just absolutely gorgeous. And would you say that the bourbon, a lot of people who've done celebrity type things, it's just their name. Now, I know that is not Bob Dylan's style, and it's going to reflect his taste and his personality. Would you agree that that is indeed the case?
Absolutely. Celebrity brands, there's a lot of them around, right? Bob doesn't need any more money. Bob has achieved so much in his life that other people could only dream of. Yeah. This one really is a it's a passion project for him, and I think he really understood the assignment, right, of the artistry that goes into American whiskey. Ascension is our Kentucky bourbon. We also have our Tennessee bourbon, which is called Revival, which does very, very well. That was actually one of our very first projects. It's kind of a funny story. We really originally there was this idea of actually housing the brand in Tennessee.
Okay.
And they were going to open a distillery on Broadway in Nashville, which, if you ask me, is like the worst idea ever. It is one of the busiest streets in the world. Trying to pull grain trucks in and out of Broadway would be a nightmare.
Sure.
So they kind of shelved that, and they were looking for a new place. Mark Bushala, so Mark is our CEO. He is the CEO of Sippin, used to own Angel's Envy.
Right.
And right after he had sold Bacardi, he was looking to get back into the game, so he got in contact with Bob's people. Bob had started a brand called Bootleg Whiskey.
Okay.
Now, we do release Bootleg once a year. That is still a thing. But Mark was like, hey, let's actually open up an entire brand. Let's open it up for a full thing. Yeah. Absolutely. So that's why we've got the Kentucky bourbon, the Tennessee bourbon, Revelation, the double barrel, Refuge, which is our sherry finish rye. And then it was, let's move to Kentucky. Let's find a place in Kentucky. And it was just this wonderful serendipitous moment of this 160-acre place in Pleasureville, Kentucky, that used to be called 6 Mile Creek. He wanted to sell that business. We bought it all the equipment, a bunch of liquid. So we were set. We were ready to go, and we're making everything there now.
Well, a little bit of a spoiler, I guess. I've been out there before, not to tour anything, but I'm very familiar with where you're talking about, and it is beautiful. It will be a fantastic experience when people who are out on their bourbon experience in Kentucky. Now, I will tell, we were chatting, Adam and I were chatting before we went on camera, and you informed me that I asked how many states you all are distributed in, and you said 44. That is absolutely amazing to me, that you all are almost in every state, and I can't imagine that the state you aren't in, it's because maybe you haven't chosen to go there yet or what have you, but that is absolutely outstanding.
Well, thank you.
And it's And as we look at this, as we're heading towards it, there are two things that I'd like to let people know. You had mentioned the distillery you're shooting for an opening in September, which also happens to be National Bourbon Heritage Month. Coincidentally, it'll be when this video is shot out to the public as well. I don't know how that worked, but it did.
So right now we're talking in future tense?
We are talking in future
Or now
tense.
we're talking in past tense. The distillery is open. Come visit.
It's a Back to the Future moment, yes. But then we'll also have the opening, or looking forward to the tasting room and the restaurant / art gallery. I don't want to speak out of turn of the experience that'll be down in Nulu. If you could touch on that just briefly.
So in the Nulu space, so like I said, it's an old church. It was built in 1860. It is called the Last Refuge. The reason we named it the Last Refuge, so when you go in, you can actually go in there now, and it's the bar and the restaurant are open. It's kind of a soft opening, limited menu. But if you can take a little tour of the church, and one of the spaces you go into was an old gym. And it was a mission, and the basketball team that played there was called Refuge in Kentucky. And we actually kept the basketball floor and the big insignia in the middle. It's absolutely gorgeous. So we will have that, plus an event space upstairs in the sanctuary, which is arguably the most beautiful part of that church. Right next door, we have a building set up for a retail space and for a tasting center.
Okay.
And then next to that, for any of you all that are old Louisville hands like me, if you remember Zephyr Gallery.
I do.
Yeah, Zephyr Gallery was one of the OG Nulu places, right? They were ready to hang it up, so we bought that building from them, and that is going to be an art experience where we'll house a lot of Bob's work, but a lot of local artists as well.
Well, the one thing I find very exciting for all the places that are here in downtown, up to this point, to you all opening your all's facility, there was nobody that served food.
Yeah.
This will give your all's place a opportunity to kind of get them there, keep them there, and have a full-blown experience, which I think is terrific. So anything else before we move on to our cocktail and let Grant tell people what we're doing here with this Gold Rush that is making me salivate as we start to talk. Anything else that the folks need to know about the brand Ascension, about the distillery, Heaven's Door, or the experience? Oh, by the way, the owner of this facility has a Nobel Peace Prize and is also inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
That's right. Bob is a very storied man. He is a Renaissance man, for sure. No, the only other thing, I'll kind of give you a little sneak peek of a new product coming out. So if you're familiar with Heaven's Door at all, you probably know about our Decade Series.
Yes.
The Decade Series comes out once a year. It's always 10 years old, 100 proof. We like to have it priced right at $100 on the shelf. So $10 a year, like it used to be with bourbon, right?
Yeah.
The new one will be coming out in a matter of weeks. We're calling it the Last Decade. It's going to be the last decade that we do for a while, and it is essentially Revelation, but 10 years old. So it is a double barrel product. It actually has 2 bourbons, 2 ryes. One of the ryes is finished in sherry, and then it's all blended together and finished in a toasted barrel for about 6 months.
That is fantastic. Okay. Well, that is, and that will not be the last we hear of Adam, but now we are going to move on to Grant. Grant, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
And I see these 2 fantastic cocktails that are, 2 versions of the same cocktail, I should say. Could you tell the folks what exactly we made, how you made it, and which product we used so that they could replicate it at home when they so choose?
Yeah, absolutely. We started with the Heaven's Door Ascension, which is the Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey, 6-year-old product. 92 proof. So that proof stands up really, really nicely in a cocktail, especially something that has a little bit of citrus. So this cocktail is going to be called a Gold Rush. It's more of a modern classic. You may have seen it before.
It's got a little bit of a special honey in it?
It does, yes. Yeah. So this honey is actually a barrel-aged honey. So that honey rested in the Ascension barrels for 8 months. So when you open up that honey and give it a sniff, it smells like the inside of a bourbon barrel. And the sweetness and the richness of the honey works really well with lemon juice and the bourbon to make a delicious cocktail that seems to everyone really, really enjoys. So,
all right, folks, now we are going to do the part of the show where we toast a product. We're going to take this fine Gold Rush that was made with Heaven's Door, and we're going to take this and we're going to make a toast to my colleagues and guests on the show, Grant and Adam, to Heaven's Door, to Bob Dylan, to the Fraser as the start of the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. We're going to be knocking on Heaven's Door, maybe blowing in the wind, who knows. But all I can tell everybody is please come to the Fraser to start your bourbon experience and include heaven's door. It is going to be just something you need to go both to the distillery and to the tasting center once it's open as a regular deal with the public. Please come experience it and come experience us. Cheers.
Cheers.
This is fantastic, but I'll have to have a little bit more just to make sure.